Please welcome Mr. Jim Riley.
The first thing I want to talk about is technique. My dream for everybody that comes to one of these things and wants to learn is that I know that everyone here can't be the best drummer in the world. I know I certainly can't do that, but I think we can all be, you know, as they would say, the best drummer that we can be. And what I mean by that is the better your technique is, the more that you're going to be able to accomplish as a player. Now, of course, we know it's not all about technique. I mean, a lot of people have a great feel without having good technique. But if you have good technique, then what you can do is you can play whatever's inside your head. And that's kind of my goal for everybody. If I can kind of get everybody's hands to the point and feet to the point where they can do everything that they want to do, then that's one step closer for them to be the best drummer that they can be. And so technique is something that's very, very important to me. Now, I went to college at North Texas. That was my first experience with a lot of things there. I studied with Ed Soph when I was there. That was great, exposed me to Moeller technique. But one of my other experiences with there was I was actually in the UNT drumline. And being exposed to that was great because that's, you know, as far as technique, with dexterity around the drum set, I have to attribute a lot of that to my training with the marching stuff. So let me break it down from the beginning. I'm just going to give you some opinions of mine on technique. Now, I'm largely a match grip player. As you can see, I do a little bit of traditional grip, but I'm most comfortable as a match grip player. So you'll notice that, unlike some people that have kind of a French approach, I've really got more of a German approach, which pretty much means that my hand is flat. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to be able to use my wrist to turn this way. If I'm using the French technique, you have to lift this way because your wrist doesn't turn very much that way. So that's why I go with that approach. Now, as far as my fulcrum, I like to think, especially with my younger students, I go, listen, what I want to do is I want to go get my drill, and I want to drill a hole between your thumb going right through the middle of the stick, coming out the second joint of your first finger. And that's where the fulcrum is for me. Some people move it back. Occasionally, I will move it back on some backbeat stuff. But when it comes to playing stuff that I need to use chops, my fulcrum is there for the control. So one of the exercises that we did at North Texas that really helped me work on some of these concepts was 8 on a hand. Now, how many of you guys have been in a drum line? All right. So one of the exercises that always gets done is 8 on a hand, which is, and you do this for 25 minutes and it's the hot sun and you're going, oh my goodness, when is this going to end? Well, what I want you to do the next time you're in that situation or you're reminded of that is think about this. What you're trying to accomplish is you're trying to make sure you're getting a bounce stroke as opposed to just a controlled stroke. So you're trying to get a bounce. But the other thing is if your hands are not, if you're not hitting straight down, the stick's not going to bounce straight up. So if your hand's not flat, it's going to want to turn this way. Where's the stick going to end up? It's going to end up over there, right? So if you go straight up, if you go straight down, the stick's going to come back straight up. So the other thing I'm doing is I'm using my fingers. And so I'm practicing that, Kids, if you're in the car, on the bus, it's a perfect way to only marginally annoy people instead of drumming on the back of the seat or something. You can work your exercises that way. So the 8 on a hand is really crucial for being able to play singles. All right. The next one that I usually go over with people is dudut or double beat, which is 2 notes. So it's sort of like taking an 8 on a hand, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and just cutting out some. 1, 2, rest. So now that I've got singles and doubles, there's a lot of rudiments that I can accomplish, but the last thing that we need to really pull off the rudiments well is we need accents. And to have accents, you have to have heights. Now, those heights can be accomplished in a number of ways. In kind of the rudimental marching type form, it would be purely a wrist turn. So, like say if I'm playing a paradiddle, which of course is a combination of those singles and doubles that we talked about. To have an accent happen, I've got to have my accent height up here, my interbeat height down here. So a double paradiddle. So then the other way that I just mentioned right there by playing it is with a rim shot. Now, on a drum set, that's particularly effective. And so what this is going to do is it's going to give your playing contour. It's going to give it dimension. You know, if I play this, that doesn't mean anything to anybody. But if I play this, that's wipeout, exactly. So all of a sudden it becomes a piece of music. And so that's what accents will do for your playing. So making sure that your playing has contour. So let's get right into this rudiments around the kit thing that I wrote up there. Very professionally printed out. Now the truth is I just kind of write these things out a la carte based on what I feel like doing at that point. So the first one I've got on there is not necessarily the first rudiment that you cover, but it's a great one. It's a paradiddle diddle. It's very easy because it's a terminal rudiment. It stays on one hand. So it's right, left, left, right, left, right, left. Okay, I'm using that accent. I'm using heights. I can also use a molar stroke. All right, so if I want to take that around the kit, which I will do right at this point, there'll be a little of this back and forth here. We'll just all have to deal with it. So I take that paradiddle diddle and I move it around the kit. So again, that's right, left, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. And then I can move it around the cymbals. So there's a lot of things I can do with that. I can play. Or the last paradiddle diddle thing, I may have it on there, I don't know, is this, where I play it as a groove. And so I'm playing the same exact sticking, right, left, right, left, right, left, and I move the second accent onto the snare, and I've got, and I add a bass drum on the first accent. So what can I do with that? Because I'm not going to play that groove all night. Well, I can use that as kind of a groove fill. So I can go. And here it is. And here it is again. Right? So, I'll take it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the rest of them here so that you can see them, and then I'm going to play the rest of them back here. Six-stroke roll is another one that I use a lot. I used a lot in that first solo. You know, I don't think of myself as some sort of, and I know there's a couple of these guys here tonight, superhuman drummer. I feel like a guy that has really, the concepts that I use are very simple. And the good thing about that is that I just try to execute them to the best of my ability. But because they're simple concepts, they're very easy to teach. So six-stroke roll. A lot of times on like the rudiment sheet, you'll see it like this. I don't use it like that much on the drums. But if I take the same thing and I round it out into six evenly spaced notes, it's going to be. Now that's something that I can use. I did an article in Modern Drummer a couple months back that was six-stroke plus, which basically talked about a six-stroke with a triplet. So. So six strokes are a very useful rudiment. And unlike the paradiddle diddle, they're very powerful. You know, because one might say, okay, well, they're both kind of six-stroke rudiments. You know, why can't you just kind of pick one that works for you? And the thing is that they have a really different sound. You know? So that's why I use two. The next, I believe it's 7 in your hymnal, is the inverted paradiddle. Now, everybody in this room, I'm assuming, knows what a paradiddle is. Right, left, right, left, right, left. Well, you can invert that many different ways. You can go, which I never use, or which I never use. But you may. But one that I use a whole lot is this one that goes right, left, right, left, right, left, right. And the reason that I use it is because I love where the funky middle beats are. So that's something that I use an awful lot. Let me demonstrate that. And again, I sometimes feel like a magician that's giving up his tricks, but the truth is they're not my tricks. I mean, none of this stuff is stuff that was invented by me. These are all just rudimental applications. So, what I want for you guys is I want for you to kind of look back at the rudiments that maybe that you haven't thought about much and go, hey, what can these things do for me? I did a clinic with a friend of mine a couple months back, and he went on before I did. And he started talking about the importance of rudiments and applications. And I'm going, oh, man, he's going to do everything that I was going to do. And he proceeded to do 4 different rudiments, none of which I ever used, and all sounded great. You know what I'm saying? So there are applications for these rudiments. Some people just use different ones more. I see people using a patafla-fla. I don't ever use that one. But Swiss triplet. I don't use it that much, but you might find a great spot for it. So, inverted paradiddle. Best way to do it is to start on a tom and go. So that's right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Or as a groove, it's. Now, you can do these 4 different ways. You can do these with no accent, 1 accent, 2 accents, or the dreaded just the 2nd accent. Now, if you do that, you can kind of develop a little bit of language with these things, and then it becomes really fun. So what I'm going to do for you right now is I'm just going to play you a very small piece that's nothing but inverted paradiddles. Here we go. So, the last thing I've got on your page there real quick is inverted roll. Now, of course, everybody knows what a regular roll is. You've got 2 pair of doubles, right, left. What the inverted roll does is it takes it and offsets it by 1/16 note. So now I'm going right, left. Now what I do is I emphasize the right hand to give it a different sound. So. I can substitute the right hand, no, the left hand for the bass drum and go, same concept. Instead of going, I'm going. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play you a song that I wrote just for Modern Drummer Festival. It's the first time I've ever written a song just specifically, to do for clinics. Everything else has been for one reason or another. When I got the call, which was a good call, saying, hey, you're on Modern Drummer Festival, I was like, awesome. First thing I thought was, I've got to up my game. I've got to add some stuff in, do some new stuff. And so this is a song that I wrote to specifically highlight some of these combinations we're doing. So here we go. All right. Again, that's really fun. I'm having a great time being here at Modern Drummer Fest. I really appreciate you guys, musicians, waking up so early in the morning to come here. It really makes me happy. So I want to shift gears real quick. Now, this type of playing is fun, and it's also really vital for me with Rascal Flatts. You know, people get really surprised when they think about, in the 10 years that I've been with Rascal Flatts, it's not all just about playing 2 and 4. A big part of it is. But there was a time where the lead singer had to get from the stage to a stage way back there, had to go all around the arena, do all this stuff in between the show and the encore. So what do you think their solution was to fill that time? Drum solo. And that's how drum solos are really born. They don't wake up that morning and go, let's give the drummer some. It just doesn't happen, They just, it's really more of a utilitarian type thing. But, we take the opportunities that we get. So the ability to, to entertain 40,000 people by yourself for 3 minutes is, it's a part of my job. Playing styles has been a part of my job. I've had to play songos and sambas and shuffles and different things that you wouldn't imagine, but in a 10-year career with those guys, there's a lot of stuff that comes up. But by and large, the type of job that I have, the number one question I get is how do you get from, say a young player or someone who's trying to improve themselves to a job like one of the ones that I have, playing with a national act and you're touring and you're playing on TV and doing all that stuff. And the answer is, it's complicated because, the path that I went on, you can't go down because it's like, time keeps moving, so that it's like a wormhole that's closed up behind me. But I can tell you some of the things that I've done and some of the things that help me with what I do. And part of what helps me is, as you can see, I have a passion for music. I love doing it, it's not an act. It's just, this is just how I am, who I am. I saw an internet post on one of my solos and one of the guys had said, this guy's faces make me uncomfortable. I'm going, I'm sorry, I can't do anything about it. I can't do anything about it. This is just my passion for the music, and it's just how it happens. So as far as my approach to pop music, I've thought of things lately as something that I like to call smart drumming. Trademark? No, not really. I just, and it came from when a lot of people were talking about, I'd be in a session and the producer would say, that was good, but this take, I just want you to really dumb it down, man. Just play real dumb, just real Neanderthal, caveman, just, bash. And I knew what they were trying to get at, but to me, the concept of dumb drumming is to just play whatever silly stuff, pops into your head that's not musically appropriate. And for me, what smart drumming is to take all the things in the world that you possibly could do, everything, and boil all of those things down to what's absolutely the most important and play that. So that's been my concept. As you can see in this small room, I'm playing very loud. I apologize. But that's the type of volume that, is required of those type of gigs, and I wanted to show it to you. I think it's just as important to be able to play at all dynamic levels, but one of those dynamic levels is really loud. And you'd be surprised how many players I see that really don't possess the ability to groove playing loud, just like the ones you see that can't groove playing soft. They're all important things. So, there have been certain fills that I've just found, like if you do the math on smart drumming, just like prime numbers, certain things keep popping up. If somebody asks me to just play me a typical rock groove, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? That fill works all night, all day long. You know what I'm saying? It's the same with shuffles. I find certain fills, if you put them at the top of your playlist, they're going to work great. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2. play that fill all night long. And a great guitar player once told me, if on a session, if you play the same fill, no one's going to notice if it's a great fill. You know what I'm saying? So you can play the same fill. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you play a fill. You know, there's some things that just work, you know? And so keeping with that, I'm going to play you another song that I wrote. Quick plug for my book. I wrote a book called Song Charting Made Easy. It's with Hal Leonard, partner of Hudson. So I think I can say that. It's on the Nashville number system. I'm not going to go into that a bunch today, but if anyone, I'm going to be around all day. If anyone wants to talk about it, I'd be glad to talk to you about it. This is a song that I wrote for that book, and it actually features my wife on vocals, so pretty cool.
All my life, all I've heard is people telling me what I've been searching for is right outside that door. Naturally, when I met you, I thought I found myself an island in the storm, someone to keep me warm. Why did I have you figured wrong? You and I may not last until the end of this song. Feeling's gone, and I don't know if I feel the same way. Moving on to somebody new and a brighter day. You must think that I'm a fool if you don't think that I see everything you do and who you do it to. You can sit there and deny everything, but I have seen with my own eyes. It's all a pack of lies. Go ahead and have your fun now. Don't let yourself pretend you're the only one. Feeling's gone, and I don't know if I feel the same way. Moving on to somebody new and a brighter day. Feeling's gone, and I don't know if I feel the same way. Moving on to somebody new and a
All right. Our time here is short. They tell me I got 5 minutes. I'm going to take 7. But, you know. So this is the last song I'm going to do. It is a multi-metric song, which means it's obviously in different meters. One of those meters is 4/4, but one of the meters is 7/8, 12/16, 5/8, 6/8, 4/8. That sounds very complicated, but it's really not. And the first thing you can do to start to understand it is to count it. So the end of the song is in 3 measures of 5/8, 1 measure of 6/8. So the best way to get acquainted with that is to count it. So that's what I want to do. I want to count 3 measures of 5/8, 1 measure of 6/8 with you. I'm going to count it off in 4/4, and then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ready? 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Let's do one more time. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. Okay? So that's kind of the beginnings of understanding that. The last one, I'm going to explain behind the kit. And it's 3 measures of 7/8 and 1 measure of 12/16. Sounds complicated, but trust me when I say it's really not. What you have to remember is that the 7/8 is really like 14/16. You know what I'm saying? So it's all, the 16th is the common denominator. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1 to the 1 to the 1 to the 1 to the 1. Right? The 16th is the common denominator, including when we go to 4/4. Bum, bum, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. So the 16th goes throughout, okay?
How about that? Jim Riley. So, in addition to having the privilege of being the opener at this year's Modern Drummer Festival, we're very excited to have him. Jim was also awarded 2001. You voted for him. Readers' poll results. Best country drummer. Jim, congrats.